All right, greetings once again, and good afternoon after your lunchtime frolic. We shall continue with discussion and riding, of course, these rolling psychic waves that you yourself are setting into motion. Sometimes you underestimate your own power, and these little bits of dips and dives into the garden of the mind and changing brainwave frequencies with intention and sound create tremendous energetic waves. Your job, in part, is to respond to, in your own way, and meet the energetics that are coming from the cosmos. You can think of yourselves, as we mentioned earlier, as a stabilizer, something that holds things together. You can think of yourselves as, let's say, innovators, let's say drawing the energy in and way showers of how to manage the energy and to get the best ride from it. So we concluded earlier a few ideas, and we'd like to pick up some of those ideas. We ended with a bit of a toning to help stabilize the earth and sew things up back together in the Gulf. But remember, the manifestations that are occurring on earth, that you call the acts of nature, some of them are instigated at specific dates and times for reasons. This is, in modern times, a long practice of weather modulation, weather interference, weather control. Some are, let's say, expressions of the mass emotional body. You can learn to tell the difference by using your own physical body as a reference point. As we mentioned earlier, it's imperative that you develop a closer relationship and belief in your body's ability, your own personal super-duper computer, its ability to communicate to you, the P part of yourself, the ego conscious mind, information that you want to know about. Now, if you judge it, discount it, argue it, put it down, want to feel more important than the other parts of yourself, you get yourself in big trouble. But the garden of the mind has no problem giving the P answers to all of his questions, as long as the P has respect for the power of the garden. Do you follow this? And one could think of the P as the gatekeeper of the garden, but the P became the tyrant of the garden. Do you understand? And so if you can understand that in the different times in which you live, you adapt to the astrological influences, the cultural influences, what the generations came in to do, and factored on top of all that, beyond the planets, what the cosmos is doing. And what is needed along the lines of time to creatively balance things out. All right, so we will also threw out a little bit of a teaser there to say to you of a little bit of forewarning that the middle of the country would best be on some kind of alert, yes?
Yes.
And we sort of said perhaps the East Coast and West Coast as well. Now, you are fully aware that the East Coast, the West Coast, and the middle of the country, where the rivers run, yes? And where there is, to some part from the Great Lakes cutting across there, the rivers, the Great Madrid Fault. So these areas not only are more inclined to greater populations, agreed, they are also on vulnerable spots. Now, know this about humanity. Vulnerable spots, earthquake zones, let's say, spots that get triggered, that were triggered in what you call your linear past, or that may have geopathic changes in, quote, your future. These spots tend to draw people. It was like people knew that Vesuvius was going to blow, so they built Pompeii. Do you understand? Why? In terms of simultaneous time, there's that factor. If you factor in that there is a part of each and every one of you that has access to the knowledge across the lines of time. Granted, it may be dormant, but you at one time were all dormant bicycle riders. Do you understand? Potential. It seems to us that most of you got on those wheels and took off eventually. So, because there's energy. There is energy. It is why people are drawn to edges of cliffs and to volcanoes. There are energetic forces of the elements, and often these places are located close to planetary grid points or along ley lines. Now, in terms of why people do this, people are drawn on some level to excitement, to energy, and you also understand that healings can occur. That one place that had trauma at one time and that blew up, it wants to attract others back to that to create the healing, not to recreate the trauma. Now, if you look at war zones and look at history, you will say that sometimes people keep drawing people back in one nationality, disguise, form or another, to old war zones, and they keep fighting, yes? It's the story of the Middle East. That would be the story of the giants and others. This is where the giants had many, many clashes, as late as many of you know, is with the Roman Empire. So, there is an attraction. And in today's time, when you are living in accelerated energy, where it keeps getting more momentum, meaning that things have greater energy behind them to bring things back to you faster and faster. Blowback, as Catherine said earlier, but really it is the creative force showing you how creative you are. And if you are clear, that is great fun. If you are not, it is lots of blow-ups. And it is also helping people to see that everything is connected. Everything has a connection to everything else. It is the speedy modern era which has helped you realize this on a false level, because you realize it because you can find out about it through the media. Your ancestors realized it because they knew it. They felt it in their skin. They could sense that every action sent a ripple along the webs of existence. So the speed up is also to help humanity understand that aspect, that everything is connected, that you are not isolated, that you are one, a unique big one, but unique and one. And it's also about raising consciousness to the degree that you transcend your entrapment in linear time, and that as a collective humanity is able to recognize and not be afraid of knowing that they have lived again and again. Seeing yourself, sensing yourself, and being multidimensional. Some are already capable of doing this, were able to open their energy fields to such an extent that is where the healing comes from. Because when you begin to see that events in one place can be carried like luggage into others, and old things and old jealousies, envies, hatreds, problems that do not get resolved go on for so long. And so at some point we could also say that many of you are assigned the role of a psychic physician. Your job is to create a psychic healing in whatever your realizations open to you. And that healing can be done simply by compassionately recognizing the energy people put behind, including yourselves, what you create, and then the duties that come with the repercussions of those creations.